Hey there guys, this is Andrew here. What is going on? As you can tell by the date and time on my phone, the title in this video, and looking at the calendar, today marks this as the 20th anniversary from what happened on September 11. Based on what happened that day, 4 aircraft were hijacked by a bunch of terrorists, and they basically took those aircraft and flew them in major parts that resulted in catastrophes around the country, and based on those final destinations on where those planes had flown towards, 2 of the final destinations were in New York City, both at the World Trade Center. One of them was at the Pentagon, and another was at a field 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. So, for today's video, I'm going to be showcasing my perspective based on what happened on September 11, and I will determine whether or not my perspective was eventful. Now, keep in mind before I showcase my perspective, I was only 3 years old at the time. 3. And I was already well into my first year of school, believe it or not. Can't believe I'm still in an education manner. But anyhow, if you're curious about my perspective, I'll give you a brief background. So, it was a calm weekday morning, and my mother was getting me ready for school, and my dad was getting ready for his day of work. And so, after my mom took care of my baby brother, she took me out to the bus stop. My bus came. I happened to get on my bus, and as my bus departed with me in it, so did my mother, and surely enough, I was on my way to school. And so the ride over to school seemed promising enough, and we got to the school property, and about a minute or two after arriving, the school buses let out all the school children. All the children went inside the school building, and all the buses departed afterward. And so, about a couple minutes after I got settled in with school, along with the rest of the school kids, the whole day seemed to be something regular, just something what we would normally expect for today, right? Also, we thought. Until then, I hear an announcement over the PA system from the school principal saying that all school kids must be sent home immediately following an unfortunate catastrophe in New York City. And whenever I first heard that, I was thinking, unfortunate catastrophe in New York City? At first, I didn't understand what was going on and what the principal meant by unfortunate catastrophe in New York City, because, again, I was only 3 years old at the time, and I was well into my first year of going to school, ready to learn and get some knowledge. Anyhow, so we went out of the school building back onto the school buses, and then as all the children were sent back home, the school district ended up calling every one of the kids' parents, including my mother, which I knew how scared she was when she left my baby brother at home while she ran out to pick me up at the bus stop. And then afterward, as soon as my bus came, she took me back home. My bus departed. I still had no idea what was going on following this unfortunate catastrophe, because I never did see any TVs inside the school, at least not from what I remember. But and so I happened to step back inside the house and look right towards the TV. The first words I see right on the news are the World Trade Center is on fire. And yes, based on what I just heard from the first words that came to my mind, I had no idea why both towers were burning at the time, and it wasn't much longer before the South Tower of the World Trade Center ended up collapsing, as I happened to hear feedback based on what happened, and realization just came into my mind as 2 airplanes flown right into the World Trade Center. One plane right at the North Tower, and another plane right at the South Tower. And having witnessed the South Tower collapsing, it made me wonder if there was going to be one single tower at the World Trade Center, because after all, both buildings both stood upright despite the 1993 bombings, and so despite a major renovation, both buildings continued to stay upright afterwards. So unfortunately, my theory ended up being dead wrong, as boom goes the North Tower. And so I wasn't sure on how the district overheard about what happened in New York City. Maybe either the principal had a TV in his or her room that showcased the news, or perhaps the district saw the news beforehand and ended up calling the principal of my school and all the other schools from the district, which is why all children were sent home. Won't be surprised if my dad was sent home too, along with the others, which at the time he was working at the Navy Air Station. But yeah, let's see, I'm trying to think of what else happened from my perspective, but I think that's pretty much it as far as my perspective is considered. I mean, I didn't have much memorization, because once again, I was only 3 years old at the time. I couldn't understand a darn thing what was going on. Maybe if I was older with much more experience, I could probably understand what was going on. Maybe, perhaps, maybe if I was in middle school, or if I was in high school overhearing the catastrophe. But my perspective is my perspective, so I guess I don't have much else to talk about it, really. And as far as memorials are considered, the last time my family and I went to New York City was 8 years ago, and I wasn't certain if I had visited the 9/11 memorial in New York City. I know I likely haven't been to the memorial nearby the Pentagon, but I do know I remember visiting the Flight 93 memorial in Pennsylvania. Whether I'm going to stop there again with my mother to or from Pittsburgh in mid-October is anyone's best guess. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my perspective, and now we shall go over to all of the emergency responders in Lego City, as they all remember what happened on September 11. These first responders, whenever they first learned about the attacks on the World Trade Center, they basically took notes based on what sort of similar events could happen in Lego City. Every first responder, including Chase McCain, Farry McLeod, and Duke Detain, they will always be at the ready whenever some major catastrophe hits Lego City or anything else related. And so yeah, that's one gathering on the couch, and the same thing goes for the gatherings at the hospital, police station, and the fire headquarters. Every firefighter, every policeman, and every medical responder will always remember and never, ever, ever forget on what happened on 9/11, because that's basically my words of wisdom. Never forget 9/11. Always remember what happened on that day. Always be sure to take notes based on the events that went on that day, and put it in memorization as you will. Anyhow, that's basically gonna be it for this video. What was your perspective on 9/11? Was it eventful, unlike mine? Were you older than me, younger than me at the time the World Trade Center was under attack 20 years ago? You guys can let me know in the comments down below so that I can read them and show some of your experiences and understand what some of your experiences were, whether they were eventful or not. But yeah, that's basically it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and I guess I will see you in the next one, and hopefully we do not have a horrible catastrophe like this coming up for anyone involved for a lifetime.